NSFW people who have found a dead body. What's the story? Was laying in bed watching with me at the time, and her dad had moved in with us recently. Heard the loudest snoring ever coming out of his room real early, and we almost went to check on him but figured he just had a long night and was exhausted. Got up, went throughout the day, breakfast, chores, all the Saturday morning stuff we do. 2 rolls around and he still hasn't come out of his room. Had a bad feeling, so I kicked the door in and found him sitting there in his underwear, pale bluish white eyes and mouth open. Apparently he'd gone out with some friends and they gave him some dope, which turned out to be mostly fentanyl. The snoring we heard was a death rattle, and he was already dead before we even went to sleep. Someone I know retired from the Royal Mail because he found someone. He looked through the letter box of an elderly lady who usually came to the door for him, but he hadn't seen in a week. She had had a stroke and fallen on a plug-in heater. My freshman year of college, right during winter finals, my closest college friend who liked to prank me was in his bed, ignoring his alarm. His roommate came to get me to wake him up. It was a lofted bed. I figured it was a setup. I climbed up there and immediately knew something was horribly wrong and yelled for someone to call for help. His face is still burned into my mind, over 20 years later. I would describe it as scared, with his eyes wide open and his mouth agape as if he were gasping or trying to scream. His hands gripped his sheets tightly. An hour plus of attempts to revive him in the dorm hallway failed. We found out later that he grew up with heart-related issues and his aorta tore in his sleep before his 19th birthday. Before we leaned the cause, I barely slept for weeks. I was terrified whatever got him was getting me next because we spent so much time together. All these years later, and am still in loose contact with his family. On my way to work at 3:30 in the morning. I was carpooling with 2 other guys. We were going through Walcott. We were going through Walcott. They're going through. Anyone that knows that area knows there's a lot of woods. Anyway, I noticed brake lights that were illuminated behind some trees, so we pulled over to check it out. It was this red sub-blasting regaton. The driver had his head slumped down like he was sleeping. I noticed about 20 open beers in the back seat, so we thought he was just drunk. We started to knock on the door to wake him up while we waited for the cops to show up. About 5 minutes later, a cop car pulls up. Officer goes to the driver's side and turns on his flashlight. The second it turned on, we immediately saw the bullet holes on the side of the driver's side door. In like less than a minute, there was at least 10 cop cars shutting everything down.